میفرستیم به زندانیانی که در هفته‌های اخیر در سطح گسترده در زندانهای سراسر ایران به اعتصاب غذا دست زدند. برای تجلیل از همه اعتصاب غذا کنندگان در زندان لیبرتی در سایر کشورها و در زندانهای ایران به پا میخیزیم و 1 دقیقه کف میزنیم. اینجاست که میپرسیم چرا سران این رژیم را به عنوان جنایتکاران علیه بشریت محاکمه نمی کنید؟ چرا مثل کانادا روابط خود را با این رژیم قطع نمی کنید؟ حرف ما این است که سنگسار حقوق بشر ایران دیگر نباید ادامه پیدا کند. به 1 گام عقب نشینی از برنامه بمبسازی تن داده است و حالا این مقاومت بر آن است که در جبهه حقوق بشر نیز جام زهر دیگری به ولایت فقیر تحمیل کند.
Our heart is broken that our country has in this regard become so dishonorable. I can't imagine why or how this is happening. This isn't a complicated question. These people have been promised protection. Over 100 of them have been killed. It is quite clear they're being killed by the Iraqis. You would have to be a fool to come to some other conclusion. And unfortunately, we seem to have some fools in our government. You would have to be even a bigger fool You would have to be an even bigger fool not to realize this is being done on the orders of the mullahs and the ayatollahs. We cannot accept the legitimacy of a regime who, in the last 100 days, or let's say the first 100 days of the reformers' regime, has killed over 400 people. What reform? What's the reform? In the old days, they were killing 800, and now they're killing 400? They're still murderers. They're still killers. They're not just attempting to kill the people of Camp Liberty. They're killing their own people. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 a day under the reformer. Wake up! And finally, America should recognize that there is a democratic alternative to the regime in Iran. It exists. It's real. It has enormous support. It's gained credibility by the blood of its martyrs. And that alternative is the MEK. Recognizing that will put tremendous pressure. Recognizing that will put tremendous pressure on the Iranian regime. And more important than the Iranian regime, it will give hope to the people of Iran who desperately need hope.
When the 52 people in Ashraf were murdered in cold blood in September, each one of them had one of those cards in their possession. So I seek to save 3,100 lives, or do the best we can to do that. And I also seek to redeem the honor of my own country, which has failed to stand up for its promises and has repeatedly lied to our Congress about what's happened, lied to the Iranian dissidents, and lied to the American public. The United States is arming Prime Minister Maliki, and the United States is supplying a lot of money so that Prime Minister Maliki can continue his murderous ways. So the first step that I recommend, Mayor Giuliani had some interesting recommendations. The first recommendation that I have is that the United States Congress cut all military and civilian aid off to Prime Minister Maliki.
Our principal hope now appears to rest with the third branch, with Congress, which has the power to act and at least to hold hearings and to cut off funding to the Maliki government. It has the power to do those two things so that it can cut off the means whereby Iran works its will and shine the bright light of publicity on the State Department's duplicitous conduct. I pledge to you that for the reasons Governor Dean outlined, because of the part that we were made to play in what happened to the residents of Camp Ashraf, who became residents of Camp Liberty, we are going to do whatever is in our power to make sure that whatever fantasy land our government thinks it has escaped to in its agreement with Iran, it will not escape responsibility for the people it pledged to protect.
You know, I spent most of my years as a FBI agent, a police officer, and later as a prosecutor. I have never seen a crime scene, a massacre scene, as the ones that we saw today with such horrific and graphic horror. When I was a young FBI agent, I went to crime scenes where organized crime groups had murdered people, had murdered groups of people. I went to explosive scenes, helping to pick up pieces of human remains from terrorist attacks. I have never seen scenes like this, where innocent men and women were tied and tethered and shot and executed at point-blank range. This is outrageous murder and genocide of the highest degree.
We have with us today someone who made it clear that he and his country would never be on the side of the oppressor. I am honored to call to the podium the former Prime Minister of Albania, Mr. Michael Pandeli.
Dear friends, I have prepared a short speech to speak today, but I think that long speeches now, after what I have heard before from my distinguished friends from the United States, are not important. All of us have understand that Ashraf camp is a very important signal for what is happening in the Middle East. Now we don't have only words. We have people. There are more than 200 people that we share, both of us, Iranian and Albanian. But there is something else, and more important. We share 3 graves. You have in Albania 3 graves of your brothers and sisters. And these are coordination of the friendship between all nations. A good friend is a good friend in difficult days, and these are your friends.
The government of Iraq cannot be allowed to get away with the kind of behavior that is now going on, keeping these people concealed within their own prison somewhere, apparently in central Baghdad, and probably mistreating them and maybe even deporting them to Iran. This is the kind of fate that none of us would want to wish upon any of our enemies. It is not the kind of action and behavior that should be condoned. And therefore, the United Nations particularly, but also the United States government have a great responsibility in freeing those people, not just bringing them out of prison and to Camp Liberty, but getting them out of Iraq.